You must be born again to see the kingdom of God.
How can a man be born when he is old?
The shadow of power. Imagine holding the greatest religious and political power in your country. Imagine that every word leaving your lips is law for thousands, and that your prestige is the bedrock upon which a millenary tradition rests. Now imagine realizing in the silence of your own room that everything you have taught might just be a shadow of reality. Under the cover of a complicit darkness, a man slips through the alleys of Jerusalem. He is not a thief, though he hides like one. He is Nicodemus, a leader among the Jews, a teacher of Israel, and a member of the Sanhedrin. He clings to the stone walls, avoiding the gaze of the temple guards, to meet a radical revolutionary who has the power to destroy his career in a heartbeat. Would you risk your entire legacy, your status, and your security for a truth you don't yet fully comprehend? Today, we navigate Nicodemus's longest night, the clandestine encounter where institutional power collided head-on with a dangerous, transformative light. The Master's crisis, the weight of pedigree. Nicodemus was no ordinary seeker. In the context of the first century, being a high-ranking Pharisee meant being part of the intellectual elite. He had spent decades memorizing the Torah, debating the law, and building a reputation of impeccable holiness. But Jerusalem was convulsing. A carpenter from Galilee with no academic credentials was doing things that Nicodemus's theology simply could not explain. This is where the intellectual crisis begins. To Nicodemus, Jesus was an anomaly. His miracles were undeniable, yet his message was a threat to the established order. Nicodemus's internal war is the same one many face today, the struggle between what we know through tradition and what our eyes are witnessing as a new truth. Why did he go at night? Many say it was out of cowardice, but let's look at it in a different light. It was a need for privacy. By day, Nicodemus was a public figure. By night, he was a hungry soul. His descent through the moonlit streets represents his descent from the pedestal of pride toward the humility of the shadows. The clash in the upper room, unlearning to be born. When Nicodemus finally finds himself standing before Jesus, he tries to maintain protocol. "Rabbi, we know that you are a teacher come from God," he says, attempting to establish a dialogue between equals, academic to academic. But Jesus, in his radical style, shatters the structure. He doesn't thank him for the compliment. He doesn't validate his status. Instead, he drops a logical bombshell. "Truly, truly, I say to you, unless one is born again, he cannot see the kingdom of God." Here, we witness the collapse of a paradigm. How can an old man be born again? Nicodemus asks literally, not because he is ignorant, but because his mind is trapped in a system of merit and effort. He believes he has arrived at the peak of the spiritual mountain, and Jesus tells him he hasn't even begun the climb, that he must return to the womb, to the origin, to nothingness. It is the tension between prestige and truth. To accept Jesus' message, Nicodemus must admit that his titles are worthless before the Spirit. He must unlearn his theology of control to embrace a theology of surrender. It is the moment the teacher realizes he is in reality a first-grade student.
The dangerous light, the risk of transformation. The nocturnal encounter doesn't end with a simple prayer. Jesus leads Nicodemus to look up at the stars and speaks to him of the wind that blows where it wishes. He speaks of a serpent lifted in the desert and of a love so vast that it gives up a son for the world. Nicodemus stands exposed. The moonlight over Jerusalem pale in comparison to the clarity with which Jesus strips his heart bare. If Nicodemus embraces this light, he loses his seat on the Sanhedrin. If he recognizes Jesus as the Messiah, he becomes a pariah to his colleagues. This is the dangerous light, the one that illuminates the path but burns the bridges to the past. We analyze here the loneliness of the leader who begins to doubt the system he leads. Nicodemus represents all those who hold positions of power in institutions that have grown rigid and who feel the call of a reform coming from the outside, from the margins, from the radical. The Master's Awakening. The silence of the night. Night in Jerusalem is usually heavy, thick with whispers and secrets. But for Nicodemus, the air of that early morning felt different. As he left the shelter where Jesus stayed, his footsteps on the city stones no longer carried the same urgency as before. The man who arrived seeking intellectual answers left with a seed of uncertainty, one that would eventually bloom into an unshakable faith. The new path. Just imagine this teacher of the law, a man who supposedly had all the answers, walking home under the moonlight, his mind racing. He kept repeating a phrase that defied every bit of his logic. "You must be born again." In that moment, Nicodemus realized that his religion of rules and rituals was just an empty vessel if he didn't let the Spirit breathe life into it. Breaking the old mold. Jesus wasn't asking Nicodemus to throw away his intelligence. He was asking him to let go of his pride. After that night, things changed during the Sanhedrin meetings. Nicodemus couldn't look at his colleagues the same way while they plotted the downfall of the Galilean. He wasn't just a bystander anymore. He was a man who had seen the light in the middle of the shadows. That conversation about the wind blowing where it wishes became his new North Star. He understood that truth isn't found in ancient scrolls if the heart isn't willing to be made new. This high-ranking Pharisee began walking a tightrope between his social status and his spiritual awakening. We often wonder what happened to him afterward. The answer isn't just in his words, it's in his hands. Later on, when darkness covered the land during the crucifixion, Nicodemus stopped hiding. While the closest disciples fled in fear, the man who was once the Pharisee of the night stepped out into the broad daylight at Golgotha. He brought an incredible amount of spices, an offering fit for a king, to anoint the body of the one who taught him how to be born again. In that gesture, Nicodemus completed his transformation. He was no longer the secret seeker. He was the brave disciple honoring the Master when the rest of the world had walked away. Final reflection: the legacy of the night. What happened after that midnight meeting? History tells us Nicodemus was never the same. We see him later in the Gospel, timidly defending Jesus before the Sanhedrin. And finally, we see him at the darkest moment, Calvary. When everyone else ran, it was Nicodemus, the man who started in the shadows, who stepped into the light to claim Jesus' body, bringing a costly mixture of myrrh and aloes, an offering fit for a king. Nicodemus risked his legacy, his fortune, and his very life just to touch the lifeless body of the one who told him he had to be born again. In that act of public love, Nicodemus was finally born. He stopped being the high-ranking Pharisee and became the disciple of love. His story leaves us with a piercing question that echoes even today. What are you protecting so fiercely? Your reputation? Your status? Your need to be right? Nicodemus teaches us that only when we are willing to lose our place in this world do we find our place in eternity. The night is over. The light has arrived. Are you ready to unlearn everything?